Welcome. I'm here again. Ah, different people will just be messaging me and be saying, "Oh, this guy, you're just saying this one, you're saying that one. You don't know what the economy is saying." Well, that's your business. Oh, today I'm talking about debt. Some of you have extremely terrible debt habits. You will borrow money you will not pay back. You will take loans you will not remember. How do you not remember the loan that you took? You will buy pure water from Malam, you no go give am him money. You will buy something you will not pay, and you will say you did not remember. How do you behave like that? Anyways, on today's episode, we'll be talking about good debt, bad debt. Is there debt that is good? Is there debt that is bad? There is a whole book by John Hansen, and the title of that book is Good Debt, Bad Debt. And he has like something like a small description after that, but the title of the book is Good Debt, Bad Debt. And he just talks about which debt is good, which debt is bad, whether you should be taking debt, whether you should not be taking debt. I'll take us back a little, and I remember mentioning in one of my previous videos that a lot of us have a terrible relationship with money. We think of money in so many different ways, and because of that we have a terrible belief or an unfound belief about debt. In fact, people believe that debt is bad, especially in Africa. They believe that debt is totally bad. You should not have debt. You should not own debt. Debt is terrible. In fact, in churches, in mosque, we pray against debt. Every spirit of debt, oh yeah, get out. Debt is not a spirit. I'm sorry. Debt is debt. You owe somebody money. It's that simple. What exactly is debt? And it is very straightforward. It is money that you owe somebody else. You owe somebody something. You owe that person. That thing is debt. Then there is a small difference between debt and credit, because people think about credit as debt. They are not exactly the same. Credit is the amount of money that you are allowed to borrow. In finance, credit is the amount of money you are allowed to borrow. Debt is the actual amount that you have borrowed. So 99% of the time, your credit is more than your debt. However, except you have maxed out your credit card, if you're in the US, for example, your credit is always higher than your debt. So debt is the amount you owe. Credit is the amount you can borrow. So is debt good or is debt bad? A lot of financial planners or financial experts try not to box debts into any of these boxes. However, I would, if you have read maybe Personal Finance for Dummies or related books like that, you would see that debt is classified in this thing just for the sake of this kind of explanations. Good debt is debt that has the potential to increase your net worth. We spoke about net worth in the last video. So please, go ahead and check that video. Check what net worth is. I think there's even a calculator, a template there that you can check to calculate your net worth. So calculate your net worth. So any debt that has the potential to increase your net worth is good debt. And 90% of the time, the rates are reasonable. Once you are collecting money from loan sharks, you are collecting money from people that are charging you exorbitant rates, 10% per month, 20% per month, some of them as high as 30-35% a month, is bad. There's no two way about it. Once you take debt that is higher than 20%, 10% a month, you're taking bad debt. But good debt has the potential to increase your net worth. So you took debt for a college education. You took debt for your business. So far, it's like a business that is working. Debt for real estate, a mortgage, for example. These are like relatively good debts. Although there is no one size fits all, because, taking debt to go to Harvard is not the same thing as taking debt to go to what's this university that they just recently banned in Nigeria? This Benin Republic university. It's not the same thing. So, like, it's not one size fits all, but generally, debts on education to increase your potential to earn, in especially in good climes, is okay. Bad debt is borrowing money to purchase depreciating items or assets. How will you borrow money to buy Louis Vuitton? How? How are you borrowing money because you want to show off? Especially for celebrities. You would not pay people their worth, but you would go and borrow money to buy gala dress because you want to show on the red carpet. This was designed by whatever, and then you are showing off. You are clothes that you will not wear beyond that day. You will go and borrow money to buy it. Why? Who are you showing up for? And I'm trying not to, talk negatively about people, or talk about people in a demeaning way. But we constantly see a situation where people in this country that have been financially buoyant at some point in the past get to into health challenges. Maybe they got into an accident, they have a particular health challenge, and the once buoyant people that used to be flamboyant, buying a lot of cars, doing this, suddenly can no longer take control of they cannot afford to take care of themselves. And then we begin to see GoFundMe accounts online. We donate for them. Yes, I understand there are situations that could come that could actually take, a lot of money from people. But some of these celebrities had these monies at some point in their life. In fact, many of them, what makes them really deteriorate is the fact that they knew that at some point in their life, they actually had access to that kind of money. But because of either bad debt or taking loans that they cannot pay back or trying to live beyond their means, they can no longer afford these things. And for all of us that are emotional, because that's one of the common mistakes I mentioned, and this goes out to myself as well. Somebody asks you for money. Think about it. Are they asking for good or bad debts? Do they have the reputation to pay back? If not, only dash them money. And when I mean dash them, only give them money that you can dash. Because there is the very high potential for somebody that is already drowning to drown another person that is trying to save him if care is not taken. So we should be giving out only a considerable amount of debt to whoever that we're giving debt to, especially in the situation where it is bad. When you can see that this person's debt, the kind of debt this person is asking for, is not sustainable, is bad, is not reasonable. Don't just bother. And people have debt reputations. What is a debt reputation? A debt reputation is what people know you for regarding debts. This one, he never pays. All those urgent 2K people that never repay, they never pay back. You already know those your friends. They will never pay back. Some, it is your comb they will borrow. They will never return it. Like I always say, money management or how you treat money is more of a habit than an action. It is something that you develop. Just like giving, just like, doing all these things. It is a habit that you can develop. So once you see people that constantly have a reputation for not repaying debt, be aware. And if you are one, please stop now. Many of you, the reason you can't repay is because you take debts that have a exorbitant interest rate. Somebody was just telling me earlier today about how they took a loan of 60,000 naira and the interest was 1,000 naira daily. 1,000 naira daily, for God's sake. In a month, that's literally 30,000 naira. Imagine you are paying 30,000 naira on a 60,000 naira loan. Half. You are paying 50% in 1 month. 50% in 1 month. It means that in a year, you are paying 600%. Which investment will you do that would give you 600% at the end of a year? So please be aware. If you are one that takes those kind of debts, begin to change your debt reputation. It's like your credit score, but with people. Change that today. Begin to, make decisions, conscious efforts that will take you away from this quagmire, this continuous downward spiral of taking loans and having bad reputation around people, and you would get that back up. Start by repaying the ones you can pay. Don't take loans if you know you don't have an assured way of paying back. That's something that you should, take cognizance of. Now, there are other types of debt, right? We mentioned that some are good, some are bad. There are types of debts that are not exactly good or bad. And I'll give you an example. Borrowing to repay debt. It's not totally a bad thing, even big companies do it. So imagine you took a loan from a company. And I'll give a very clear example. It happened to me one time. I took a loan from a company and it was about, I think, 30% annually. Yeah, 30% for the year. Because it was urgent. It was an urgent need for a business that I was running. And I quickly needed to turn around cash. So I took the loan. And in like a few months' time, of course, I had been servicing the loan well. I didn't default. I noticed that, there was another offer of loan in another company where they were offering me, I think it was reducing balance of 1.5% per month or 1.25% per month. So even if it was like for the stretch of the year, I was probably going to be at 18% versus 30%. So what I did was to take a loan from that new organization that was willing to give me 18% per annum, and then pay off my previous loan and continue to pay this new one. So I have cut away 12% just by taking that loan. So, you can't really classify that kind of loan as whether good or bad. Then borrowing to invest. If you are certain, there is no 100% certainty. But if you are reasonably certain that an investment that you are about to go into, whether it's a business venture, whether it's an endeavor that you are certain would return capital, right? And it's not like you can't pay the money, because I typically tell people, because certain investments may go southwards. So when you are borrowing money, think about your normal income. Even if you want to invest in like a new business, is there a way that you would pay back that money normally? If there is no way, I would most likely advise you not to take that money. Don't borrow money to invest when you are not sure of another means via which you will pay that money, especially because you are not certain of the direction of that business. And sometimes the business may even be going well, but it's not going to pay you back in 3 months. So you are taking money from your friend, you promise to pay them back in 3 months, but you are that this business you want to go to, maybe you want to be planting cassava, and your cassava would not, come by before you finish planting and then turning it to gari or fufu or whatever you want to turn it to. It's going to take maybe 4 months or 5 months or 6 months. You don't take loans and then just hope, and then, you spoil your debt reputation. So what you do is look for your other sources of income, find a way to structure your loan in such a way that you can pay from your other sources. If it means that you should extend the loan, instead of taking a 3-month loan, take a 12-month loan, right? It's better than actually taking a 12-month loan and paying in 9 months. It's better than taking a 3-month loan and paying in 6 months, even if it is the same amount. So be aware of that. Not all loans are like good or bad, but you just have to know the specific situation that you're in for that loan to move. So now that you know, and some of you, well, if you don't plan to be great in the future, you can take as much debt as you want, change your number, cut your SIM card away, let them be messaging all your family members, you know. But I'm sure my audience, the people listening to me, are not in that category. Only take debts when you know it is for a good cause. There is no big person, there is no international entrepreneur that you know today, any wealthy person that does not use debt. Use debt. In fact, in finance, debt is the second cheapest source of capital, right? So use debt. Debts from family members. I want to quickly talk about that. When you take debt from your family members, please pay back. And this applies to everybody. Whether you are a husband borrowing money from your wife, you are a child borrowing money from your sibling, you are an uncle borrowing money from your aunt, from a younger cousin, whatever the relationship is. Borrow money. When you borrow money from family or friends, always pay back. Always. Some of you will go to your friend's business. You will buy something from them. You will not pay them. You say, don't worry, I'll pay you and so date. But you will never pay. It's not good. And not just because you are building a terrible, bad reputation. You are literally stopping yourself from being able to get, debts in the future. Because that is the cheapest form of debt you would ever get. Most of them don't charge you interest. They don't charge you any loan. So you are literally taking a debt at 0%. And most of us, because we are taking debt at 0%, we take it for granted. We take it so light. We don't even respect the person enough to pay them back. It is them that will be reminding us. It's different when they say, I give you this money, don't bother. But actively choose to pay back. You can never go wrong with it. Because when they now need, when you need to start that business, you're trying to, blow up, you need some capital. They're the ones that would tell their friends. They're the ones that would tell people to invest in this person because this person would pay their debts. And if push comes to shove, where there are situations where you cannot pay your debts, for example, I had a debt with a particular company. And when COVID hit, I was still able to, pay because I had emergency funds. I was still able to fulfill the debt for, I think, 3 months or so. But after I saw that I cannot continue to pay this money like this because I won't be able to settle other bills. So what did I do? I wrote an email to the company. And I called the officer. What did I tell them in that email? I have debts with you. I know I have debts with you. This is my interest rates. This is this, this is this. I requested for 3 different things, or was it 2? First, I asked them, can you pause my interest for this month, this month, this month, and this month? I will be paying back whatever is left. I will be paying back my money, but I don't want you to accumulate any interest for me. Option 2, I want to close out these debts. I can pay you X amount now, but I know it's going to be it's not going to accumulate, it's not going to cover the whole interest, but I have paid my principal and a portion of interest. So I'm more or less negotiating my debt. It's called debt settlement. Always ask in advance. Communicate. Tell them what you want to do. Can I do it this way? Can I do it that way? If you don't know, you can, reach out to us, ask for options. There are so many ways you can restructure your debt. Maybe ask for longer term on the same interest amount, on the same interest rate without increasing your interest rate. You must be willing to negotiate. You can negotiate your debt. Most of us don't know. Of course, except if you're dealing with loan sharks and all those organizations that don't really care. But 90% of the time, if you're dealing with proper organizations, they are willing to restructure your debts. They are willing to give you, and if in some situations, if you have had good credit over time, They might be even willing to reduce interest rates. Or you might be able to get loan, like I mentioned earlier about what I did, taking a loan from another company to sort out loan from this person. You can do that. Take a loan from a lower interest rates, for a lower interest loan. Use it to pay off your high interest loan. At least your interest will not accumulate. Then one last thing, make sure that you try as much as possible not to take flat interest rate loans. What is a flat interest rate loan? It is a loan where the rate you are paying is flat, literally. And when I mean flat, I'm trying to say how to explain it easily. If you take a loan of 100K and the interest is 5% flat every month, 5% flat every month, and another person takes loan of 100K and the interest is 5% reducing balance, the difference is that if I pay my loan, me that took flat, pay my loan on, it's for a month, so I paid on the 10th, I will pay 105,000, right? I'll pay 105,000. If the other person that didn't do flat is to pay his own, he will pay 10. Remember, I paid on the 10th. 10 over 30 days in a month times 5% times 100,000. So the person's interest would be lower than my own because I took a flat interest rate loan. It also means that in the future, if I pay down my capital, so let's say I pay down, I told the company that I'm paying that, I want to pay out of my capital. And that's another form of debt settlement. You can tell the company that, okay, you want to pay your capital because interest is calculated on capital, right? If they calculate your interest on 100K, it's different from if they calculate your interest on 80K, right? So you can pay down your capital. So what I could do is, if I have like bulk money, I can quickly tell my loan company, okay, remove from my capital. But most of you, when you take loans and you don't really read the terms, some of them say, even if you pay down your capital, they will still charge you interest on the full money. And most of these loan companies that you find around and that have flat interest rates, that's what they do. They will tell you, don't worry. Once you take 100K loan, the money you'll be paying every month is 5,000 on it, plus your 100K. So if you want to pay it over 5 months, the total money you will be paying every month is 30K. So in your mind, you have seen good loan plan. But the truth of the matter is, what if you have maybe 20K early in the month and you want to pay down inside your capital? It should reduce your loan, right? But the truth is, even if you pay down the 20K, at the end of the month, they will still request for their extra 10K to make the 30K for that month. And it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. You are literally dashing people money. But you can take proper loans that are reducing balance such that you can decide to pay down part of your capital and whatever is left, you pay over time. In case you have more questions about this, feel free to drop them in the comments or reach out to us via email. I will be sure to respond to you personally. Thank you for watching this video. I am super grateful for your interactions, for liking, for subscribing and all this. Please do more. Share the video with your friends, share it with your families, share it with your colleagues at work. Subscribe to the channel. It encourages me seeing that people are actually, liking what we're doing and they want to, help us grow this channel. Thank you very much. See you next time.